So this is the last lecture of the semester, and essentially we're just talking about why we should apply this model and what to think about as we apply this model. Um, as I've mentioned a number of times throughout the semester, this is something I feel really strongly about in terms of how I think leadership should be thought about, how it should be enacted, whether we're talking about it at an organizational level, or if we're talking about an organization simultaneously trying to think about the success here in their organization, but how that can spread outward and how it comes back in by the community members also working with you. It is not just like, how can I help, but it's how can I kind of build roots, like start growing roots into this community and become a part of this community. And I think that's what we're missing in a lot of leadership is not thinking of how it can be that synergistic relationship with the community versus either I'm helping you or, I'm trying to take advantage of you or I'm trying to whatever, intent there is. My belief is that leadership should be looking at how can we integrate into this community and be a part of this community where people look to us like it's not an outsider, like they're part of us now. And when we're thinking about how we can long term improve this city, this community, whatever it might be, I know that that's a partner who I can work with. So thinking about that, let's look at how we can apply the social change model. So I know these two words, social justice, brings up a lot for people, but I want to really try to separate whatever political, cultural, whatever ideas or stigma has been thrown onto these words to really just think about this definition according to the authors in the book, right? It refers to aspects of fairness, fair decision, making processes and policies, and social inclusion of diverse groups. If we just looked at those words and not thinking about anything else, we can see the benefit, right? We want to make sure that there's a fair process, fair decision making for everyone in the community when we're thinking about how to best improve the community, or even again, we're thinking about micro and thinking about our organization. We want to make sure our process is fair. I don't think anyone is advocating for an unfair process. So that's part of social justice in terms of why or how we're connecting social change and social justice. Um, Thinking about policies, you want to make sure that your policies are benefiting as many people as you can. That when we are coming up with these policies, we're thinking about what words we're using, what phrases we're using, and how it might overlook some communities that we're not necessarily thinking of. How maybe some members of our community didn't have a voice or weren't included in the decision-making process previously. How can we change that? And lastly, inclusion of diverse groups. Di when you're thinking about diverse groups, there is diversity of thought, there's diversity of religion, diversity of ethnicity, of race, of sexuality. Like there's just so many diverse groups that we can think of that should be a part, they're all part of their community, right? Regardless of whether you agree with someone. I mean, there are people who are part of my own religion or political party or even part of my family who I'm not going to agree with on everything, but they're still a part of my community. In order for I can even think about it just in my own university that I work in. There are probably people who I know that I just do not get along with. But I know for the betterment of my university, which leads to the betterment of my students, the city, I need to get along with people. I need to be able to work with people. And I need to be open to the idea that maybe this person who maybe I don't have a great relationship with, maybe they're right about something that I'm wrong about. How can I make sure that if I'm benefiting in this university, that they can find some benefit as well, right? That I'm not just taking from someone, that we are growing together. That's what social justice, in terms of the way they're thinking about it and deploying it with the social change model of leadership, that's what they're thinking about. And so if you're just thinking about again, getting away from these two words, but thinking about making sure that we have fair decision-making processes and policies, that seems like a no-brainer in terms of trying to be better leaders and to create a good working environment and a good community environment, and including as many groups as possible, right? Making sure that when we're succeeding, the whole community is succeeding. And so that's when we're applying that social change model, this is what we're striving towards. So when we're trying to move this idea of social change and the social change model of leadership into action, so moving it from idea to agency, four questions that we should be asking. So what do we know? That also means what don't we know, right? Talking to community members and figuring out, filling in those knowledge gaps so that we're making informed decisions. What are our values and reasons for involvement? What actions will we take? And how are we measuring our change and success? Because it can't just be our own success and our own, um, uh, whatever change we're trying to make within our own organization. It's also how we're measuring our change and success within the community. In terms of tackling group dynamics during this process, one, you want to make sure you're examining your process. Again, we're looking for a fair process and including as many voices as possible. You, as a leader, need to be open to being wrong, like we've talked about. And that means you're creating an environment where communication is open and that you're welcoming folks to speak truth to leadership. You want to maximize individual and group growth. That again, having that growth mindset both at a micro level and at a macro level, both at the team level, at the leadership level, and you want to leverage technology. Especially now when it's so easy to reach out to different community members and not have to drive across town to do so. That coalition building that we talk about, that's so important in creating that relationship in the community. Leverage technology to do that. So that's it for the social change model of leadership. I hope you've grabbed some benefit from this, whether again you're thinking about it from a micro level here at the organization, or if you're thinking about it in terms of where do you want to work and what is the goal of the employer who you work with or the organization you're volunteering with. Like, are they really trying to focus both on the success of that organization as well as the community, or are they being a little short-sighted? Right? Really understanding what your own values are, even if that's one thing that you take away, right? Understanding the importance of knowing your values, knowing that your values might change over time, but the benefit of making sure that your actions line up with those values. And I think you can't go wrong there. If you end up going the rest of the way in that model, great. But I think if we can just start from there, I think that's a great first step.